Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. College football reactions presented by JLab. JLab has the best audio products in the game. They're ready to take care of you this football season. Traveling to watch your favorite team or just streaming the game at home. Find the Blue Box at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, or go to jlab.com. Love their stuff. The Blue Box. All right, I want to talk. Listen, Ohio State should have put Penn State away earlier, but they're the better team. USC, Lincoln Riley's now 12-12. Again, they lead late and lose. Oregon thumps Michigan. I think we've spent so much time looking at Texas and Georgia and Bama and Ohio State and last year Michigan. I watched Oregon this weekend. I'm not sure what they're not good at. Like I'm like I'll tell you this, the more I watch Oregon, the more I like them. The more I watch Ohio State, the less I like them. I feel like Ohio State offensively, John, has a bit of an identity crisis. They want to run the ball because they've been criticized for not running it, but their best players are all wide receivers. And then combine that with Will Howard just isn't as good as we thought he was going to be. I watched him at Kansas State. I thought, you know what? He's getting all these receivers. He may win a Heisman. He's a good college quarterback. I don't see any special. And every time I watch Ohio State, I'm like, they leave points on the table. It just doesn't feel like I watched Oregon. Oregon is squeezing every freaking ounce of talent out of that roster. I mean, to go on the road in college, even though Michigan's not great, and just kick the shit out of them. I mean, the game wasn't even as close as 38-17.
No.
I just don't think we're ready to embrace this. People outside of the West Coast don't understand. Oregon's dominated Southern California recruiting in the Pac-12 for about 8 years. They just get the best players. They pay for them. And I don't know. I think Oregon's the best team I've seen.
I want to hate Ohio State. I actually thought that was a pretty impressive game yesterday because I thought they shoved around Penn State. They made the big plays when they had to. I mean, Penn State Classic just blew it in the red zone. I mean, Ohio State is missing multiple offensive linemen. I think they had a guy start at left tackle and left guard that had never even played the position, so they're moving guys around. I'm with you on the quarterback, but when you look, it's like I don't love Georgia's quarterback. You know, Dylan Gabriel can throw the ball. I have more faith in him than those guys, but he's kind of small and against a big-time defense, like could he be knocked out or whatever. But I hear, yeah, I mean, I think Oregon, if you had to pick a team to win the national championship as we sit here today, it would be Oregon. But if Ohio State gets healthy, like, I mean, their talent, that safety that they got from Alabama, they basically just put him on 44, who, you know, that guy is going to be a top 50 pick. I mean, against SC, he had like 50 catches in the game. And he did have a great catch in that game, but for the most part, they neutralized him a little bit. And what a letdown by Penn State. If I would have told you they'd be up 10-0 on a pick six and they would score 3 points, you know, with 5 minutes into the game and score 3 points the rest of the game, that's pretty embarrassing.
You know what I feel like with James Franklin? And I've met him before, and I do like him. And I see this sometimes in college basketball and football. John Calipari's a little bit of this. Great recruiter, and I feel like there's nothing else he's great at. I mean, there's some guys like Jay Wright was great recruiting, developing, building a defense, creating leaders, tight late game situations. I mean, like Jay Wright checked every box. Krzyzewski's offense could be boring, but Mike checked a lot of boxes. So does Bill Self. You know, Calipari's like the guy he can sell, and that he deserves credit for that. But when I watch James Franklin, I feel like he's very dependent on having a great offensive coordinator. He can recruit. His defense front sevens are always really formidable. They look like an SEC front seven. They always get a pass rush. I just think he is sort of I just think he is what I see a lot of. He deserves his money. It's a great program. I like watching him play, but I don't think I trust them in tight big game situations.
Where were their wide receivers yesterday? You know, for a guy that is a great recruiter, and like you said, I mean, they got NFL guys all over that roster. I think that's why it's such a letdown. You go, well, our roster is just as good as their roster. I actually think their quarterback, who was awful last year, it's kind of grown on me a little bit this year.
Yeah.
But their wide receivers make no plays. And they're so dependent on the tight end, who's a really good player. But to get them in that spot. They're all bitching and moaning because it's the morning game. They want the night games. Like, guys, it wouldn't have mattered if the game would have been at midnight or at, 5 in the morning. You're never beating this team. And I just know Penn State probably in the playoffs because if you look at their schedule, they'll have one loss. But I don't take this program seriously at all relative to like competing for national championships. Are they going to have a ton of NFL guys? If you're a scout, do you need to spend 5 days a week there during the year? Do you need, Are they going to win their 10, 11 games, depending on how the schedule breaks? You will never pick them against Ohio State. You will now never pick them against Oregon. And, we'll see if Michigan and USC can get their shit together over the next couple of years. But if those teams are good, you will pick those teams over Penn State as well. And that's kind of crazy because I think this was the first time. It's like, I think Penn State's got a shot. And then they're up 10-0. You're like, God, is Ohio State about to get their butt kicked? And then you're like, no, they're not, because they just never make a big play when it has to be made. Obviously, the pick at the end of the first half was devastating. They get that final drive. They're at the goal line, essentially, and they can't punch it in the end zone. They just run it right up the gut twice, and then they throw it on fourth down. It wasn't even close. And then Ohio State, with all these random offensive linemen, run it right down their throat, the strength of their team, all these NFL guys, and end the game. That's a big win for Ryan Day, and I can be Ohio State hater, but that was impressive.
DraftKings is offering $1 million a day in bonus bets for the first 10 days of the NBA season. That's $10 million in bonus bets. Here's how to shoot your shot. Opt in, get a daily NBA profit boost token. You pick a pregame NBA player prop to boost. If that player leads the league that night in points, rebounds, assists, you win a share of $1 million in bonus bets. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The code is Colin, Colin, to win a share of $1 million in bonus bets if your player is king of the court. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
To go in there.
Yeah. I mean, winning on the road's hard in college, especially when you don't have a superstar quarterback. When you have a solid guy in Will Howard, winning on the road is hard. It is.
Yeah.
So let me touch on USC. Lincoln Riley, 12-12.
What's their record right now, Colin?
I think they're 4-5 or 3 and what are they?
I think they're 4-5. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? If I would have told you year 3, they'd be 4-5.
I think one of the things that gets really disappointing to me, Lincoln Riley said after the game, 6 plays and we're 9-0. And it's like, yeah, not really. I do think offensively they'll be better next year. But I think I go back to something like they're getting wiped out in the state of California. They're just not recruiting the state. I don't think he has a love for recruiting. I think there are some guys that really Saban loved it. He had charisma. Yeah. I think there's some guys that really love to recruit. I think Sark, Lane Kiffin, there's a handful of guys. I think Ryan Day's probably a hell of a recruiter. Brian Hartline, his receiver coach, is a great recruiter. I think sometimes Lincoln comes off as very prickly, very aloof, very detached, overly protective of players. I mean, he cut off media this week. No more media at the practices. It's like, you're 4-5. We got better things to do. I think sometimes he's forgetting this is not a rural town. Like, this is, we got Sean McVay and the Lakers and the Dodgers and Herbert and the Rams. You start cutting people off. It's like I'm considered sort of pro USC, but when I watch them, I go back to something that I think it's very clear to see. They don't have enough good football players. And Rick Neuheisel won a Rose Bowl at Washington. They beat Purdue. I didn't think Neuheisel was a great coach, but he liked recruiting. He was engaged. He really, really enjoyed the showmanship of it. And Washington's up in the rain in the Pacific Northwest. They had Marcus Tuiasosopo at quarterback. But I always come out of it and I'm like, you know what? If you recruit at college, Charlie Weiss couldn't recruit. He was a smart guy. He couldn't recruit. I just look at their brand. They have literally one serviceable offensive tackle. They have one running back. They're very pass happy. I look at it and I think to myself, they'll be better next year. I don't see special. I don't see the players.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me this would have taken place after they beat LSU, I wouldn't have believed you, because it was clear like LSU was going to be a good team. And if they beat Alabama next week, Colin, they're going to be 10-2 and be a playoff team.
Yeah.
So it's for them to end up 4-5. And like, are we sure 6-6? They've proven now they can lose to anybody. I think the craziest part, and it hit me last night, I'm watching the game. They're down 20-7. And I'm just like, they're about to get rolled. I just turned on other games. I was actually shocked when I went back to my phone and saw that the game was close. So then I turned it back on. But it's barely November 1st, and they don't matter in the college landscape. Like you watch, and some of their fans watch the whole game because they're invested in the program. But I didn't need to watch. Like, I was paying attention because I know we talk about it, but they don't matter. It does. If you talk about
John,
college football, you don't need to watch them. Which
no.
year 3, paying them 120 million. This is an epic disaster, Colin.
John, they don't have anything resembling a first round player. They don't have anything. They have a center that'll go in about the 3rd round. They have a safety in about a year, I think will go in the 3rd, kind of a 3rd round player. They have some nice receivers. None feel like first round players. They have $13 million in NIL. Go buy an elite left tackle for $1 million. Go buy the best rush in football. They don't have, I mean, Washington's in a rebuild. I'm not sure they have more good players than Washington. And Washington's in a rebuild with Jed Fish in his first year.
I would say this. I mean, he's not going it. Nothing's going to happen, but UCLA has showed some fight this season.
Oh, like yeah.
They've at least shown some character. And if he were to lose that game, regardless, I mean, now the record, would you agree the record's kind of irrelevant? Whether they go, I don't even know what bowl games mean anymore in this college football. Do bowl games even still exist? But it'd be hard for people around the program and the money people to take him seriously. I mean, it is right now at 4-5 into year 3. Like people are on Brian Kelly. I mean, he has a bad half against Texas A&M on the road. When they have a million NFL guys. Like he was kicking their ass for a half. Like you watch, and I watch a lot of LSU because I love watching the SEC. It's where the best players are. He's doing a pretty good job. And you talk to my scouting buddies, are like, it's an impressive operation there. When you go in there, they're like, I would buy stock in this program moving forward. Yeah. That is not the case. And like you said, the reporter thing, he did that last year. He does it like Lincoln. Why are you even worried about things that are just completely irrelevant to? Can you beat Jed Fish? I mean, Jed Fish should have beat you 2 years in a row. You remember they got very lucky to beat him last year. Was that game go to overtime? Maybe beat him on the last play of the game.
Yep.
Caleb made an incredible play in overtime. Remember, he kind of scrambled. Yeah. They easily could have lost that game. They were lucky to be 7-5 last year because they lose that thing. They're 6-6, and it looks like they're headed towards 6-6. And I would say you're 6-6, and you lose to this UCLA team with Deshaun Foster. They're not paying you $120 million for that. And like you said, think of all of the top coaches. Dan Lanning, I mean, loves to recruit. Clearly, like you say, Ryan Day and that program, they recruit their ass off. Kirby Smart, recruiter. Sark. Huge. So the top programs, which USC, LSU, Brian Kelly puts a lot of effort into it. They hired you to be their equals. Well, coaching right now is not going that well, but it's like, okay, college football is not quite the NFL. If you just got the Jimmies and the Joes, you could win, especially at SC, 8-9 games, no doubt about it. Then you got to outcoach to get to undefeated or a 1 loss. Your Jimmies and the Joes, SC didn't play Oregon this year, did they? They kind of got lucky.
Or Ohio State. They get run out of the stadium with those teams.
They got lucky with their schedule. It could be way worse, right?
Listen, Clay Helton could not recruit or develop, but he tried. He had an effort. I mean, USC fans come up and ask me, I'm like, go watch the games. They don't have any separators. Their receivers, they have a kid named Lemon, runs good routes, good hands. They don't have anybody that separates. They got a safety, a center. Woody Marks, the transfer running back's a nice player. He's probably a 4th, 5th rounder, nice player. They don't have a second running back in the program. They have 1 tackle that can play offensively. They have no great pass rushers. They just don't have any good play. They don't have enough quality. If you took the best 10 Ohio State players and the USC, the best 10, Ohio State's got 8 of them.
Well, is there a chance that like the point of difference of Lincoln, who was supposed to be this genius offensive guy, the gap between him, like Jed Fish, an offensive guy who's coached with the best in the business, and his staff has a Belichick and a Carroll. Obviously, Dan Lanning's staff is elite. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly don't suck. I mean, you look around the conference, you go, you got to beat some pretty well-coached staffs. Iowa's a well-coached staff. You got some of these teams, it's just going to be very, very difficult for them if they are not recruiting the best. I mean, Pete Carroll in his heyday had the best of both worlds, right? Elite staff, elite players.
Go to rivals.com, 2025 recruiting California, A&M, Texas, Oregon, Texas A&M. LSU. There's no USC's got one rush in, good kid from about 30 minutes outside of LA up north. They're not getting any of the players.
Well, think about this. If you're a kid right now, let's say you're 17 years old, for your entire life, starting at like 8, 9 years old, when you kind of start really understanding sports, SC's never been relevant. So you don't remember like Matt Leinart throwing to Dwayne Jarrett. You weren't even born. So it's like, maybe you were born in 06. Those teams they were done. So how this notion of like momentum's a real thing, right? I think Schefter had a report today, like people are interested in going to the Commanders. Don't blame them. I would be too. Yeah. No one would have said that 8 months ago. Things change faster than ever in society. If you're a kid, like I'd want to go to Oregon, I'd want to go to Georgia, I'd want to go to LSU, I'd want to go, hell, South Carolina beat the crap out of A&M. They look cool. Ohio State. Why would you want to go to SC? What have they done over the last, I would just say 10 years to be, if you're a young kid, like I want to go there. We talk about it a lot because we remember these moments. They do not. And now with social media and stuff, their moments they don't even exist. So I think he has a lot to overcome. And this gets to the thing is like, can he build from scratch? Because that's what this needed. And it doesn't look like he really can. Where Jed Fish is a good example, went to Arizona. That was a disaster. What he proved that he was able to do. And look at Arizona this year. They stink again. Yeah. It's like that is really difficult to do, to go to a program just in general in college football that's down and out, let alone a non-power program, and turn it into a 9-10 win team. He took over Bob Stoops' team, which he inherited, I don't know, a team full of over under probably 20 NFL guys that all start in the league right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what worries me, even the guys outside of Caleb Williams that he brought from Oklahoma to USC, this is one of the first warning signs. He brought about 6 guys from Oklahoma to USC. One could play. One
and the Jordan Addison move, which obviously was a really good move. They had Caleb. Like, is he getting Jordan Addison this offseason? Like the equivalent of that guy? No chance, right? Where's that guy going to go?
One of their starters in the D-line is from Wyoming. One of the starters in their O-line is from Wyoming. They're cherry-picking Wyoming players in the transfer portal. Like, they just don't have a good enough sales pitch. And that's college football and basketball.
I think the sad thing is, if you're a big, LA SC booster and money guy, you look around college football, it's not like there are these programs that are head and shoulder. Like, it is very winnable right now. I would say most of these teams, like you said, Oregon has really got their swag back after beating Ohio State. But I watched Georgia against Florida. They don't look great. I mean, it's not like Ohio State, this is their best team of the last 20 years. Probably wouldn't even be a top 5 team of the last 20 years. So you look around college football, you go, well, Alabama's kind of meh for their standards. LSU's got some issues. Like, well,
Notre Dame.
We should, what are we doing here? We can't even sniff those. We can't even beat Washington. What's Washington, a 7-win team? That's a problem, Colin. That's a problem.
John Middlekauff, former NFL scout, 3 and out. As always, buddy, great talking to you.
See you, Colin. Fight on, baby.